Hi everyone, this is a demo of the Oracle SOA Suite 11G training provided by Ayutha Learning. In this session we are going to learn about the JMS adapter. So in this session we are going to discuss a JMS adapter business case, then we are going to create a business case in JDeveloper, and finally we are going to see the difference between JMS adapters and a few other like file and DB adapters. So our business case is the verification of a credit card by a banking service. The client provides the credit card details to the banking service, and the banking service responds with the verification details. Now the main challenge in implementing this is that the connection to the banking service is not stable. This means that it is a possibility then when we try to push the credit card details to the banking service, the invocation might fail. So the solution to this problem is to implement an asynchronous interface in the form of a JMS adapter. Now we are going to see why particularly a JMS adapter has to be used in this case. So here we have a small diagram. Now as we can see, it is the client. Now the client is going to push the credit card details into the request queue, and the banking service is going to listen to this request queue. As and when it gets the message from the client, the banking service is going to pick it up. After verifying the details, the verification details will be pushed into the response queue, where in turn the client is going to pick them up. So now let's go to our JDeveloper and try to implement a sample case. So first of all, we are going to create a new application. Click on File, click on New, All Technologies. So application, click on OK. Now in this application we are going to create three different projects. Now we are going to create the first one after we create this application. So we are going to name it JMS Demonstration Application. We are going to name it as SOA JMS Demonstration Application. Click on Next. Now the first project is going to push the message into the request queue. So we are going to name the first project as Push Request Queue. Click on Next. Click on Empty Composite. And click on Finish. Now we are going to see the composite for this project. Okay, so here is the overview of the application, and soon the composite is going to come up. Okay, so here we have the composite. Now what we are going to do is we are going to drag and drop a Beeple process into the components swim lane. This is a Beeple process that is going to push the request into the request queue by using a JMS functionality. So we are going to name it Push Request Queue Beeple. And this is a one-way process, since the work of this process ends with pushing the message and we do not require any response back to the client. Okay, and we are going to create one JMS adapter also, which is going to push the request into the request queue. So we are going to name it as push request queue JMS adapter. Click on next. Select Oracle WebLogic JMS and click on next. The app server connection. This is the connection to the WebLogic server on which your queues have been created. So I have already created a connection to the server which is called connew. We click on next. Okay, now we have to define a schema which is going to be used in pushing the message to the queue. Now we already have the BPL processes schema, so we are going to use that one. We are going to see how in a later step. Click on produce message. Click on next. Now we have to choose the destination. Destination is the queue in which you want to push the data. So we just click on browse and all the queues which are there in your server come up. These are the queues which have been automatically created by the WebLogic server, and these are the two queues which we have created especially for this project. The first one is the request queue and second is the response queue. So we are going to use the request queue here. Click on OK and correct the GNDI name to the one that you have specified in your WebLogic server for this particular project. Now we have to choose the schemas. Open the project schema files folder in which we have the schema of the people process, that is push request queue people schema. This is the process element. Select it and click on OK. Click on next and finish. Now we can link the BP to the JMS adapter. Save all. Let's open the BP process. Okay. Now the receive activity is going to take an input from the client, and we have to now invoke this JMS adapter using an invoke activity. So let's create an invoke activity here, and let's link the invoke activity to the push request queue JMS adapter. We can link it by stretching this line, and now we have to create a variable which is to be pushed to the JMS adapter. So if you click on this green plus sign here, the invoke one produce message input variable gets created. Just click on OK, apply and OK, and save all. Now the message given from this client and which came into this activity receive has to be copied into the invoke activity so that it can be passed on to the JMS adapter. So I'm going to create an assign activity after this. In the assign activity, we are going to copy the data from the receive activity to the invoke activity. So we have both this input variable is from the receive activity, and the invoke variable is from the second activity invoke. So this is the source and this is the target. So let's expand the input variable, select client input, and let's expand the invoke variable and select client input. So this variable has been copied into this variable. Now just click on OK. You can see the assign is completed and OK, and save all. So the first project which is used to push a request into the request queue has been completed. Now let's create another project which is the banking service. SOA project. Click on OK. Now the banking service is going to take the message from the request queue and push the verification details into the response queue. So click on next and click on empty composite. Let's close our previous projects. Okay, this is a composite for the banking service. Now what we are going to do is, since we already have a schema that is being used for the Let's see the schema here. Since we already have the schema which is used to push a message into the queues, so we are going to use this schema itself across all our 3 projects. So now what we are going to do is we are going to copy the schema into this project, that is banking service. We can easily do it from the backend. So let's go into the file system where all our project is being stored, and let's go to C. Let's go to JDeveloper, which is the source folder for all the applications and projects created in JDeveloper. So we should see the application name here. It is SOA JMS demonstration application. So we'll go into SOA JMS demonstration application, go into the project from which we have to pick the schema, go into the schema folder, copy this schema, again come back to the application, open the second folder, go into the schema folder and copy this. Okay, so now let's go back to JDeveloper and refresh our interface. So we can see the push request queue BPL schema comes here. Let's save out and let's create a BPL process, banking process BPL, and the type would be defined service data, so that we can orchestrate between the various JMS adapters and the BPL. So click on OK. Sorry. Now we are going to drag and drop a JMS adapter into the exposed services swim lane. This JMS adapter is going to pick up data from the request queue and going to pass it to the BPL banking services. So let's name this banking service request pick JMS adapter. Click on next. Select Oracle Web Logic JMS. Click on next. Select the app server connew. Click on next. Now since we have the schema already, which is the push request queue BPL, just click on next. Now consume message. Click on next. Select the destination, that is the request queue from which data is being picked. Click on next. Correct the JDI name in accordance to the one on your logic. Click on next and select the schema and the process and click OK. Click next and click finish. So our first JMS adapter of this project, that is the one which is going to pick the message from the request queue, has been configured. We can just link it to the BPL. After that we are going to create one more JMS adapter which is going to push the data into the response queue. So let's name it banking service push response JMS adapter. Click on next. Select Oracle Web Logic JMS. Click on next. The app server connection would be connew. Click on next. We already have the schema, so we just click next here. After that we have to produce a message into the response queue, so we choose produce message. Click on next. Now in the destination we are going to pick response queue this time, since it is a response queue to which we have to give the data. Correct the JDI name. Click next and select the schema which is push request queue BPL and process element. Click on next and finish. So the second JMS adapter which is going to push the data into the response queue has been configured as well. Now let's configure the BPL. Now this BPL, JMS adapter is going to give data to this BPL, and this BPL is going to give data to this JMS adapter. Now to pick up data from the first JMS adapter, let's configure a receive activity here, and let's link the receive activity to the first JMS adapter. Now when you open up the receive activity, you will see this interface. Now when you click on the green plus sign, it would automatically create an input variable which can take the data from this JMS adapter. Click on OK, apply, and we now have to configure an invoke activity to pass data to the second JMS adapter, which is this one. Just extend the wire and click on the plus sign so that invoke one produce message input variable gets created. This variable is going to push data to the response queue. Now let's hard code a value verified into this variable, because normally a banking service does a lot of things when it has to validate a credit card. But for the sake of simplicity in our project, we are just going to hard code a string verified and push it into the response queue. So whatever number we get in the request queue, the response is always going to be verified. So let's create an assign activity after in between the two activities. Open up the assign activity and copy operation. Now this variable is of no use to us here, since this variable is the one which is going to invoke the response queue. So let's hard code an expression into this. Click on expression and click on this sign right here and hard code the string verified. Click on OK, expand the invoke one produce message variable and click on OK, click on OK and OK. So with this, our second process is complete too. Now let's close this project and configure the third and final project, which is going to pick up the response from the response queue. So click on new and create a new SOA project. Let's name this pick response queue, and we have to create an empty composite here. Okay, so similarly now let's go to the file system and let's copy the schema into this project as well. So you just copy the schema, go to the application and push and pick response queue is the project name into which we have to copy the schema. Go to XST folder and just copy the schema. So when you go into the JDeveloper and refresh it, right now you can see the XST that has come here. That is a pick response queue. So this XST would be used to push the data into the response queue as well. Okay, now let's configure a BPL process here. So this has to be named pick response queue BPL, and the type is define service later. Click on OK. Now let's configure the JMS adapter, which is going to pick up data from the response queue and give it to the client. So let's create a JMS adapter. Click on next and pick response queue JMS adapter and click on next. Select Oracle Verbolic JMS. Click on next. The app server connection will be called new. Called next. Define from operation and schema later, since we already have the schema. Now consume message. Next. Select the destination name, which is the response queue, since this is a queue from which we have to pick up the data. Correct the GADI name. Click on next. Select the schema process element, click on OK, click on next and finish. So we have configured our JMS adapter. Let's link it to the people and let's open up the people. Now we are going to have to push data from this JMS adapter to the people so we can see it in the client interface. So let's configure and receive activity here. Let's link the receive activity to the JMS adapter and create a default variable. Okay, let's save it. So now let's go through whatever we have done here. The first project we created was the push request queue, and this is the client which used to give the credit card details to this activity receive. It receives the data into the input variable. After that, we used to copy the data from the input variable to the invoke variable, which used to give the credit card details to the response queue. After that, we have the invoke activity, which invokes the JMS adapter, which pushes data into the request queue. Then we configured the banking service. Now the banking service, it pulled data from the response queue, request queue, sorry. After that, the receive activity got the data. It hard-coded a string called verified, and it gave this string to the response queue through this JMS adapter. After that, from the response queue, this people picked up data through a pick response queue JMS adapter and went into the activity receive, where the client can pick it up. So now let's deploy all these three processes and see the entire flow. So you can go to deploy, push request queue, deploy to application server, come next, con new, that is the name of my connection, click on next. Now this is the SOA server which is active on my system. We can just click finish it and you can see the status of the deployment in the deployment tab right here. So right now the project is being built. After that it could be deployed. Meanwhile, let's go to the EM and see what the EM can show us. So let's refresh the EM. Now EM is the interface which can show you all the deployed composites. You can test your composites here, see the flows of every composite instance that has been made, do troubleshooting, even recover faulted instances. We are going to see all this in a later session. So the EM is being refreshed now. Meanwhile, let's go to our JDeveloper and see the status of the deployment. So the project is still being built. Okay. EM is being refreshed and the project is being deployed simultaneously. So let's wait for the deployment to finish. It normally takes around 2 to 3 minutes for a project to be deployed to the JDeveloper. However, it also depends on the configuration that your system have. If you want to run a SOA server on your system and deploy applications on it and do your testing, and simultaneously want to run a JDeveloper tool on your system, then at least 8 GB is a good configuration. Otherwise, your system's memory would be used up to the fullest, and applications might become slow. So now the deployment is in progress, as we can see. Let's also check the EM if it has been refreshed yet. Project is still being deployed. Here is my WebLogic, which is running on my system, and here is the SOA server. So when you start the SOA server, then you can see that whenever the status comes running, it means the WebLogic server and the SOA server is up. So let's now go to JDeveloper. Now the deployment is happening, so it's almost 70% complete. Now the build and compilation of the project is complete in JDeveloper, and the jar file sca_push request queue underscore rev1 revision1.jar is being sent to the EM. So let's refresh the EM again. It can happen sometime that the correct applications are not being deployed. Generally, logging out of the EM and logging in again can fix it. So we are going to close this tab and again open up the EM. Let's see the JDeveloper, the status of the deployment. Okay, the archive is still being sent to the SOA server. Okay, now I'm opening the EM again. Okay, now we can see the updated EM, and the deployment is still happening to the EM. So let's go a bit deep into the EM. This is a SOA infra server 1, SOA server 1. In the same way, you can have multiple managed servers on your system. So if even your one server is down, you can configure the WebLogic to route your request to the second SOA server. That is what happens in generally huge production environments which handle millions of requests each day. It is actually called a clustered server, wherein it has many multiple small servers. So this is the default. Default is the partition. In a similar way, we can create multiple partition which can house related projects. So if we open up the default partition now, so we can see there are multiple projects which have been deployed previously. So now the deployment of push request queue project is complete. So this is a push request queue. Now we are going to deploy our banking service project also. So let's go to banking service, click on next, click on com new, next, and finish. Let's clear the log so that a new log can come in. So now this project is being built and we can see the deployment activities in this deployment tab. Let's wait for the deployment to finish for this one. You can see the status of the build. The build is happening right now, and after that the deployment is going to start. So now the archive SC_banking service _rev 1.0.jar is being sent to the EM. When this project is being deployed, after that we are going to deploy the quick response queue as well, so that the flow is complete and we can see a complete instance from end to end. Okay, so the deployment is finished for this one also. Let's refresh the EM once. Okay, so this is the banking service which has been deployed just now, and this is the push request queue which was deployed a while back. And finally we are going to deploy the quick response project as well. Deploy quick response queue application server, on new, and finish. So now the build is happening for this project and it is going to be deployed soon. Let's wait for the deployment to finish for this project as well. Okay. The deployment is finished for this project as well. So when we refresh the EM, then the new project is going to come into the list. So the first one is push request queue, second one is banking service, and the third one is quick response queue. Now we are going to instantiate a flow, and we are going to see how the activities happen in all the different DPLs, and the data is finally received by the client. So to test a composite, you have to click on its name. So I have clicked on push request queue. So now the home page of this composite would open, where we can see all the instances which have been created for this composite. Right now the instance list is no instances there because no instance has been created. You can just click on this test button to test this composite. Now we can test it by giving an input, which is a string, which is the credit card details that we have to get verified. Now I'm just going to give a sample credit card number and test this web service. Now the processing is happening, the various composites are being invoked, and the data is being pushed and picked up from the queues and into the queues, and soon you would be able to see the entire flow trace. Okay, now to see the instance, we click on the composite name again, and we are going to go to the home page where we can click on the composite ID, and the new page would open up showing the flow trace of the entire composite and the composites that it invoked. So let's see the flow trace here. Okay, so these are the three details that were invoked. The first one was a client which gave the credit card details to the push request queue people. After that, the data went to the banking process people. After that, it finally went to the response queue message pick. So first of all, we are going to see the push request queue people. So we received the input, which we can see by clicking this link, view XML document. So the number which we got here was 42144214, which I gave as an input, a sample credit card detail. After that, we assigned it to the invoke activity, which produced a message on the partner link, that is a JMS Adapter push request queue. So here you can see the payload, what was pushed into the push request queue, that was the sample credit card details number. After that, let's see the next beeple. The next beeple was banking process beeple, which was invoked. So it received an XML document. The XML documents take a bit of time in opening up. So let's close this one and open this. Now the banking service request people got the number, credit card detail that we put in the request queue. After that, string verified was hard coded and it was pushed into the response queue. You can see the string verified here, which was pushed into the response queue by the JMS adapter banking service push response JMS adapter, which invoked the operation produce message. Let's go back to the flow trace. This is the data that the banking service got, the credit card detail. After that, we go to the response queue, message pickup prepare, and let's see the XML document. Now this message was received by the third process after the response queue was being pulled by the JMS adapter, which picked up the string verified from the response queue and gave it to the beeple. So let's see what came into this beeple, the string verified. So in this way, our flow is complete. The client has got back the status verified. Now let's return back to our presentation, where we are going to see the differences between JMS adapter and few other similar ones. So okay, so JMS adapter versus adapters like file and DB adapters. Now JMS adapters are the best where an asynchronous interface has to be implemented, since we can guarantee the delivery of a message even if the target system is not up. So otherwise file adapters and DB adapters would have failed in this situation, since they cannot hold the data like JMS can. So in this type of asynchronous interfaces, JMS adapter and the JMS queues are the best fit for such a type of designs. So that was the video for a sample demonstration of the JMS queues, and hope you found it useful. Thank you.